Hi all, and welcome back. It has been ages since I've actually filmed anything and posted it. So finally here I am. So today I have actually just finished with a matinee show, and I've just kind of come back from that, and this isn't what I wore in the actual performance, but what I wore there and after. And I was done up, and I had a little bit of time to spare, so here I am. So considering I not long came back from a performance and I have been in performance week 1, I decided that it would be a good time to do this video that I had thought about doing like a month back, which is acting tips. So I thought I would compile a list, not from the internet, just from my own brain. Sorry. God, I'm in a mood. I thought I would compile a list of just acting tips I could think of that I would find helpful and even still, I guess, find helpful. So I will go through those. Acting tip number 1. Don't give up. I mean, I don't know if I need to tell you, but just don't give up. There's going to be a lot of times where you may feel like giving up, or you may not think you're getting anywhere. And look, I think if you took every no as a, that's it, I'm done, then you're not even really starting. I mean, you're going to get a no. Virtually most steps of the way, there will be a no. There'll be multiple no's. But yeah, number 1 is just don't give up. Number 2, keep practicing. Like anything, you have to practice. You can't not practice. You can think you might not have to, but I mean, you do. Everyone I know says, you gotta get training. It doesn't matter how advanced you think you are, you have to keep practicing. Like anything, especially if you aren't getting out there and getting a lot of gigs, you need to be going to courses or doing practicing with friends or other actors or things like that. Like, training is great, and I would highly recommend it. I have done, I started in high school doing acting lessons at school, and then it went into diplomas and uni courses, and out of that were short courses with all different things for all different types of acting and different ways of acting, I guess. So whether one-on-one or classes of 20 people or less, or there's just a lot of things, theatre, TV, ads. And then within that, there's naturalistic, non-naturalistic. You've got numerous things you have to be able to do and progress upon. And you can do acting for your whole life. So, you got time. Number 3 is trust yourself. I have a bad habit of not trusting myself, but it does greatly help, because then you're able to portray a character better or do your best more than if you're holding back. It's better to give more than less, I think, in a lot of cases, because once you give more, you can chime it back, and you've already put yourself out there in that way. And I think it's just best to trust yourself in auditions and on stage and in life. Really, just trust yourself. 4, practice in front of people. I had a bad habit of not wanting to practice in front of anyone. And what I found was you are more nervous when you have to actually do the audition or the performance. And, you're practicing. People know you're practicing. So just practice in front of people and you will feel less nervous. I can virtually guarantee it because I know that's what happened for me. And, you know, you don't have to practice in front of every person you know, but even one or two people, just being like, okay, it doesn't matter they're there, because in the end of the day, I'm going to have to practice in front of people eventually, or do this in front of people anyway. Number 5, know you're not going to get most roles, and most of the time you're probably not even going to get half of them. This isn't to say that you're not going to walk into an audition and get it straight away. You may, but there'll be a lot of knockbacks. There's always going to be knockbacks no matter how good you are. And that's something that I think I still can struggle with a little bit. Not like taking it to heart, but you got to not let it get to you, because at the end of the day, it's not necessarily you were bad. There could have been a lot of other people were just really good as well, or you didn't have the right look or the right this or that. And sometimes, like, even just talking to someone who is casting a play, I talked to someone recently in the show I was doing, and she was saying that, you know, she had like 7 men all going for this one role. And that's not a lot in terms of casting. That's quite a small number. All of them did so well, and she just struggled so much that I think eventually she just went with her gut instinct. So just because you don't get it doesn't mean you didn't do well or you aren't a good actor. It could just be that they saw someone that did it better for some reason, or had like some random quirk. Could have been something they did with their hand, or it could just be that even if it wasn't your best day, it doesn't mean you're not a good actor. You know, you might just not have suited the role either. So you never know is what I'm trying to say. Number 6. Not everyone learns scripts the same. So I know people that do all different things. I was talking to someone that writes them each line down most of the time so they can remember it. They just keep writing and writing and writing. We weren't taught a lot of it in the acting lessons I've done, but I personally just read them and like say them out loud and do chunks at a time and try and remember it that way. And I have someone read the other lines, or I cover the other lines so I can look at them, cover my lines so I can look at the other lines and be like, okay, this is what I say in reaction, or I record my own voice saying the other person's line. There are so many things, I'm sure, on the internet about how you can learn lines, and it's really dependent on the person. I don't think there's one way. I think there's numerous ways, and you've just got to find one that works for you. 7, always have up-to-date headshots. This one is a costly one. I'm going to be real. It is costly. But it always depends. When you're starting out, you might not have, great headshots. You might just do ones that someone else has taken. And someone's probably going to take them, but a cheap one or for free. But this one, you've got to make sure you have, because it's your first impression. Think of it as kind of like your resume. You will have one of those too, but think of it as that. You are going to be put in for roles, and that will be what they see straight up. Your head. And that shot will determine whether they're like, that person's suited or not suited. So you want a professional shot. Preferably, I cannot speak. You want a professional shot. And you want it probably every 1 to 2 years. And I'm not going to say it's cheap, but I will get into that later, into the prices of acting. But it's something you need and you want to invest in. Out of a lot of these is that you really need to invest in a headshot. Now, I'm a little bit behind in my headshots to an extent, only because I was meant to do it this Friday and it got cancelled because the photographer got COVID. Anyway, it's gone been postponed for May because the photographer has to travel from Sydney and she only comes down to Melbourne for certain times because she's got other people to do in Sydney, obviously. So with headshots, you've got to get them every 1 to 2 years because, you know, you change. You may not notice, but you get older, obviously, things change. Even if you don't think you've changed much, you may still have. Another thing is, if you get a haircut or a color, you gotta change your hair. You gotta change your headshot. It's costly. I tend to avoid haircut and colors sometimes, especially color, because I've got to keep changing headshots and it costs money. Another thing is, if you gain weight or lose weight, you've got to change your headshot. So that's personally what happened to me. So I needed an updated headshot. I got my friend to do one just for the interim because I had gained weight and it had been a few years, and I wanted to lose weight before I got paid someone to do it. And then I've lost weight since then. So now they're not representative of who I am now, so I've got to change them and get a professional shot or do temporary headshots in the meantime. So that's kind of the gist of it. But, you know, you got to find a photographer that works well for you. And not every photographer does headshots. I'm just saying. Not everyone will know. And maybe they, you know, will do a decent shot. But there are a lot of headshot specific photographers. And they know specifically what is needed. And probably will be better for you because they'll know what clothing you should wear and what look you should have. And some work, like the one I had my original headshots with and waiting to come back. Her name's Manya Roth. She's, as I said, from Sydney. She sends like, you know, you should wear this and have all these different outfits. And personally, with her at least, you can have unlimited looks, but you have a time frame. So this one's 1 hour for the headshot session. And she also works with a makeup artist that does hair and everything. And, you know, personally, I want to go with the makeup artist because I know they do a good job and they can do natural sort of headshots that still make you look nice, but like not like you're done up as such, you know. But this one I do. So if you are wanting to look into one, I was recommended by is it the acting agent I'm with now? Oh god, it was my last one. I think the acting agent I'm with now to go with her. So Manya Roth. She charges, I think for headshots it's $600 Australian. Now, it's not cheap. I'm not saying it's cheap. It is certainly not cheap. And you can get cheaper shots. It's all up to you and what you feel you want. I loved the headshot she did last time, so I'm coming back. And, you know, she's worked with lots of different Australian actors and musicians and whatever. And, yeah, so that's $600 and then $200 for hair and makeup, which is similar price, I think, for what you get done for, like, if you're getting your wedding or something done. So, you know, all up $800. I get like 150 pictures all up and one edited, I think. The rest are raw. And I get unlimited looks but 1 hour. And yeah, the $200 is makeup and hair. And yeah, and she does it in a like studio thing with her really good camera and a lighting setup and whatever. Or natural lighting, I think she does a lot of too. Because I find natural lighting's generally best. But yeah, she does all these things and it's great. So I like her, but there are so many people that do them. So just have a look around and, you know, if you don't have a budget to spend that much on, then there's so many others, or there is an option you can do it yourself. You might do that beginning, but I wouldn't recommend it for trying to get into bigger things, only because they're probably not going to look at it as well as someone that's had a professional headshot, because it's not capturing you as well, and you're probably not going to look your best. Just saying. Just saying. But headshots, do get them, and frequently, and be aware that if you change your hair and that, like, get your hair done before you get your headshots done. Don't get it done after, because then you've just wasted your time and everything, haven't you? So just remember that. Number 8. This one has to do with price. I did mention price for headshots in the last point. But, so if you haven't figured from that, my point is that acting can be expensive, and sometimes more expensive than what you've just earned from the acting. So, you're not always going to earn more than you've spent on it. At least starting out or straight away necessarily. There are some big costs. So say the $800 for headshots and hair and makeup for that. Then you've got traveling to auditions, or even traveling to the shoot. It's not necessarily going to be covered in everything. You might not earn a lot. You've got the petrol. You've also got time. You've got a lot of time you put into auditions and things like that, and you don't get paid. You don't get paid for auditions. You just audition. You don't get paid for obviously the upkeep of everything. Then you've got agencies. Now, agencies should not charge you, but the thing about agencies is they tend to want you, at least in Australia, and I assume in America, to be on certain sites. Now, there's multiple sites depending on where you are in the world, probably. So, for example, there is things like Showcast, which is one that Australia generally uses, or we use in Australia, and I think probably all over the world. Acting agents use them. Casting agents use them. They all use them. I'm not going to say everyone, but they use them, and you need an account, and that costs you. Your agency does not pay this. You pay this to the agent that pays that. So you got to keep that up. I've also got IMDb Pro. Now, you don't need IMDb Pro, but I find it useful because sometimes you need to edit a few things. I've had things wrong with my IMDb, and you cannot on the free version. So, and I had to clear up because there was 2 Sheridan Chases, and I needed to switch things over because they were getting combined. Anyway, you don't necessarily need it, and maybe you only have it for 1 year and not the next. I don't know. But I do find it useful, and I'm not sure a lot of people probably use it. It really depends, but it might not be necessarily, at least at the beginning. I'm on Star Now. That is useful for especially people starting out. And even when you've been doing it for a while, if you're not like famous, it can be useful. You don't need an agent for Star Now, and you can do a free version, but you generally can't do as much on it, and there are a lot of limits. So I would advise getting the paid version, and I'm pretty sure it's all over the world. This way you can apply for all these different jobs. You don't need an agent, but you can have one. You can also apply for agencies through Star Now. You can apply for numerous things now. They've expanded, so it's not just acting. You can apply for behind the scenes things. You can even apply for jobs that can help you survive that aren't related to acting. There's like promotional things, there's modeling things, there's writing, there's everything to do with the industry essentially. And I found it useful. The thing I'm in now, I first applied for through Star Now. And there's been paid things I've gotten through Star Now and non-paid. So there's multiple things on Star Now. And it's great for starting out, especially because you've got students from unis and stuff like that that need actors for their short films or whatever. There's also ads that are advertised that are paid as well. Then there's online series, and there's movies, and there's all these different things all over the world. So I found it genuinely helpful. But yet again, you don't need it. It's just, it does help if you want to, especially start out. There's also another thing in Australia that's quite popular with, it's one of the most popular in Australia with acting agents and casting agents and whatever, which is casting networks. So they do a lot of things as well. So you generally need a subscription to that. So look, you're looking at hundreds of dollars. I'm being honest with you. And if you chuck in, so 1 year, you never know. You might be at $1,000 for the year, just with subscriptions and headshots. But it's not always. The headshots come every so often. But it's not cheap. It's not cheap. It's cheaper than a lot of things, but it's not cheap. That would be a lie. And there's so many other things you've got to have to spend on. Some you can probably claim on tax. Number 9, don't go into it for money. Look, people may think you're an actor. Wow, you've got money. A lot don't. You don't have money. And look, some do, and some can make a career out of it and they can live off of it. That's great. But a lot don't. I have a different job that I do during the day to support acting. And look, there's times where I'm going to get like a fair bit of money off acting in certain times. But that's maybe enough to support you for 2 weeks. Not, the year. So I'm just going to be honest with you. Don't go into it for money. If you're into it for money, you may as well get out, because I can't guarantee anything. As I said, the cost can be a lot and you're not necessarily going to get it back. Hopefully you get it back. With a few good gigs, you can probably get it back, but I'm not guaranteeing it. You break even, you might make some, a few grand a year. You may make less. You may make more. I don't know. But chances are you're probably not going to live off of it. But you may. Roles come and go. A lot of it's temporary. You do a movie and maybe the movie does well, but then you're out of work for however long you get the next role. So, and a lot of acting jobs just don't pay, or they don't pay well. Community theatre doesn't pay. Sometimes you'll do things and it's like a bit of a thank you sum, but it's not a lot. It's maybe like $100. And that's not to say it shouldn't be funded more and there shouldn't be more money being put into it and given to actors and anyone that works within. But a lot of people just don't have the money to spend on it. Or, a lot of it can be student stuff and they don't have the money. Or they have a little sum of money. But you're best to get a job. And that comes on to my number 10, which is find a job that's flexible, preferably. Assuming you're not rich. If you're rich, maybe you can live off your parents' money or whatever. Or your partner's money. I don't know. But if you are not, you're going to need a job. And I'm going to assume you're probably not reading or watching this and being able to support yourself from acting. More than likely not. So that way you need a job that is maybe casual. And, try and pick up some decent paying casual jobs that can give you a lot of shifts and you can decline shifts. Or a job that's part-time. A lot of people work full-time, but you've got to be aware that you're not going to go for all the roles you can. And that's one of the things that frustrates me with trying to survive and also trying to get into the career I want, is that I don't have time necessarily to do everything. The job I'm in now is luckily understanding and that I can take time off to do certain things. And despite this, I still feel like I can't necessarily take all the time off I'd like to get to different auditions or being able to rehearse different things. But it's still only because I am employed part-time and I don't feel like I should be putting my employer out necessarily with me not being able to come, and they have to try and fix certain things up so that the things I'm meant to do are still being done and things like that. I just don't necessarily feel like I can do that all the time, despite their understanding. But another good thing about my job I'm in, which I am a cleaner, is because I don't spend a lot of facing time with the public, I can run through lines easily in my head or try and go through the script and listen to it throughout my day, which I did a lot with this particular performance. 6 hours of my day I could just do practice on my script whilst working, essentially. But just be aware that there are certain jobs that may be harder for you to get to different acting gigs and stuff. But that being said, I know numerous people that do acting that have all these different jobs and different careers. So that's not necessarily something that's going to hold you back completely. And number 11 is try and get some skills. So skills can be anything you may not think about. And they're useful because in acting, you never know. They need everyone. So you might be able to play football. Hey, skill. It's a skill. And I can guarantee it, there are roles for that. There are ads all the time that need footballers, and there's probably there's things that need football. People that can play football. All different sports. Swimming is in a lot of movies. Useful. Tennis, any sort of thing in the sport is a skill. Playing an instrument can be useful. You might need it for all different things. Think of ads that you've seen. There's all different skills being used. Riding a bike, you might not think of it as much of a skill, but it is. Some people don't know how to ride a bike and they need someone confident on a bike. Yoga. I've seen things that want people that can do yoga. So if you know how to do yoga, then hey, it's a skill. Singing, dancing, they're the typical ones, the triple threat, singing, dancing, acting. Useful. Combat. You might have combat training. That's great. You can do a war film or a fight scene or a whatever. You can do it. It could be knitting. I don't know if there's many roles that require knitting, but I'm sure there are some. There's bound to be some. There's, you might be able to write in cursive or draw, or even sometimes it's knowledge about things. Like you might have medical knowledge, or you might have knowledge about coding or anything like that can help you in a role or help you get a role. Because there might be, 20 actors that are going for it, but they don't have that skill and you do. So you get the role. And, I'm not going to say I have a lot of skills, and I'm hoping to go upon that, build more of my skills. And I'm always aiming on hoping to build more skills. Like I can knit, haven't ridden a horse in a while, but I can, kind of. I could, at least. I used to be able to play an instrument. I could do all these things. So it's helpful, and you might not look at this thing as an acting skill, but it can help. So that's all in my video today. I hope you enjoyed it. I think I might do a video in the future again of maybe a part 2 of this, of other tips about acting. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found it useful in some way. Even if you aren't doing acting, maybe you're just interested. And if you are doing acting, I hope you found this useful, and maybe put some tips you found out along your journey or you have found useful in the comments and let me know. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.